friends, 2 time zones, and a shared love of stories.
I'm Freya.
And I'm Jamie.
Bridging time zones 1 chapter at a time.
Welcome to Once Upon a Time Zone.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Once Upon a Time Zone. Today we have a fun episode. I feel like I say that every single week, but it really is.
Same.
Today we're talking about the books that we thought were almost perfect and why we thought that. And we do have to give credit to the beautiful Bailey for this idea. Yeah, we saw it on her channel and have been inspired by her. But it's a really interesting kind of thing to think about when we started listing out these books. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about those books that we're so close to perfect, but there was maybe one reason that annoyed us, or just that one thing that didn't quite get there.
Before we get into that, I kind of feel funny asking this. Jamie, what are you currently reading?
Well, Freya, I'm actually currently reading the same book you're currently reading.
No way.
It's not like we haven't been talking about this every single day throughout the entire process. But for everyone listening, we are both finally reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is a big moment for both of us, and it's just really funny and literally a coincidence that we both picked this book up for our August TBRs, and then I texted you when I picked it, and I was like, guess what I picked for my August TBR today? And you're like, I literally picked my TBR yesterday and picked the same book.
Literally. I was like, you're kidding me, right?
Yeah. So we decided to read it at the same time. So we were like, August 1st, we're doing it. So we don't procrastinate. Yep. We don't we don't put it off. We just do it right away, rip off the Band-Aid. How's your journey? I mean, we've been talking about it, but let everyone else know.
Well, also, I need to let the listeners know that Jamie is an insane reader. We all knew this, but she is insanely fast. And I just feel like everyone needs to know that. I thought I was a semi-fast reader. No. So Jamie is powering through, which is kind of good because it's motivating me to read it quicker as well. Every chance I get, I'm reading a little bit. I said writing because I was talking to Jamie about this literally just before we started filming, that I've had to tab it because there's so many characters and so many key parts of the world that I need to remember and have to constantly go back to. So I've actually started annotating an 1,000-page book, which I never thought I would say. But it's been incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that's also probably why I'm seemingly speeding through it a lot quicker than you, because you're taking the time to pause, get out your little sticky and put it in. Yeah. I'm just
I genuinely need to though. The first 200 pages, I was like, I'm so lost. I kind of understand what's going on, but if somebody asked me to describe what is happening right now, good luck. I don't think I'd be able to.
The funny thing is other than the prologue chapters, and we were kind of talking about this just before we started recording, but other than the prologue chapters that kind of happen in between the parts of this book, because if you haven't read The Way of Kings, it's kind of split up into 5 different parts, and each part has a whole new set of POVs that you follow, but we have these interludes in between that are kind of prologue chapters, and those are the ones that stump me, because we don't get a lot out of those prologue moments and those prologue POVs. Yeah. So whenever we flip to those moments, I'm like, oh wait, who is this? Where are they? How do they fit into this entire picture? But I think everyone else for some reason is quite straightforward, in my head.
Yeah. I think just throwing different POVs in there really just plays with your mind. You're like, do I need to remember all these little details right now, or do I need to come back to them? When will they be relevant? Which is a very, I feel Brandon Sanderson thing to do. Yeah. I remember, I think in the Mistborn series, even the beginning of the little chapters, the little quotes at the beginning of the chapters, even they had meaning in the Mistborn series. And I literally wasn't even thinking about them for the first book I read. I was literally just kind of reading over them, then going on to the chapter and not thinking too deep. And then I started realizing that they actually have relevance. So yeah, the details are insane.
Yeah, I'm trying to pay attention to those in this one as well because of what happened with Mistborn. But also I feel the ones here are a little more scattered. They're more diverse. It's not just one, the ones in Mistborn were pretty much all from one journal or one person.
Whether these are just from everywhere, really.
They're all over the place.
Their quotes, it's crazy. I think I speak for both of us when I say we're loving it so far.
Yeah, really, really loving it. I'm still not obsessed with Brandon Sanderson's writing, and we've also been talking about this.
Yeah. It's not as confusing as you'd think. I think that's what kind of throws me off because to me, he's a masterful world builder and masterful character developer. Like his characters are insane to me. They have so much depth. There's just so much thought put into each character. Like there's none that are just there for no reason. They all have a reason. They all have a relevance. And his worlds are just so insanely detailed. I almost look past his writing. Like I almost don't. Is not a point of that I'm reading it for, if you know what I mean.
Okay, the weird thing is though, like when I'm reading his books, I can hear his voice, like his literal voice, and I don't know. Yeah. Can you do okay? Because I don't know if it's like because he's quite present on social media, so like I've seen videos of him. But like every book that I've read from him, like I hear his voice as the narrator. Like I can hear his voice in my head, and I don't get that with any other author. But his writing is so like his voice that I just hear him like speaking the words to me.
I don't think I get it. Well, it's hard to say. The only other author I want to say is Tolkien, and it's not that his voice I hear, it's like Gandalf's voice I hear, like narrating the entire series.
Yes, I actually love that. But like I see that. Like yes. Like just this old wise voice.
Yeah, literally. It's like the soft, like in a hole, in a hill, there was a hobbit. Like it's just
I love that so much.
But yeah, I think you're right. Like you can hear his voice, and I do guess that speaks to his writing. Like he's got a very succinct way of writing that, you know, is very him. You're not going to confuse it for anyone else.
Mm-hmm. But I think we are both vlogging this process. I'm guessing you're vlogging. So we will elaborate more on our thoughts about The Way of Kings in our separate vlogs. So definitely go check those out. Yeah, I'm making a full dedicated video just for reading this one book because it's so long.
I'm doing like 2 in it because I just decided to. Not the 2 books, not the 2 Way of Kings.
I'm like, that's a lot of reading for one vlog.
No. No, I think I'd crash out. No, we're doing 2 books, but yeah, I had to cut it down because the book is taking up so much of my SD card. I just keep talking about it. There's so many thoughts.
There's so much to say. So yeah, definitely if you are not following us on YouTube, we'll talk more about it over there on our separate channels. But it's been a fun journey so far.
Yeah, I'm very excited that we've started the Stormlight Archive.
Yeah. Okay, one more thing before we get into our books that we thought were almost perfect. I actually got a question from one of our listeners asking how we became friends. So I thought we would just take a few minutes to go over how we became friends because it's like you live in Australia, I live in Canada. How did this happen? Kind of happened just the same way that like all online friends become online friends. Like I can't speak for you, but like I was following you for a while and like watching your videos, and I was like, I like her. She has great book taste. She's like comforting to watch. I always like also thought you were a literal fairy because you just have like fairy vibes. So I was like, I love this like fairy who reads fantasy books and talks about them.
I feel like we started talking when we started commenting on each other's YouTube videos. Because I think I started realizing how similar our taste is. And so I was just watching all of your videos for all the recs because if you recommended it, I was usually going to like it. So I think we started commenting on each other's videos quite a lot. And then I guess we moved to Instagram.
Yeah, so I actually scrolled up to the top of our Instagram chat this morning so I could like take a look. And our first message was actually from me to you, and it was a reply to a story that you posted that I think had some really cute pastries in them or something, because my message was like, oh, like cute mini croissants. Like,
oh my gosh, yes, that's right. No, I think it was like a little matcha and they came with mini croissants on top.
Yes.
That's so random. It wasn't
that was the first. That was the absolute first DM. So I guess I was the one that got into your DMs.
Jamie's the reason, guys.
Yeah. And then after that, we both started freaking out over Sunrise on the Reaping. So there was like a lot of back and forth about that, which makes sense. And then we both chose each other's books, like reads for a week for vlogs. And then, I don't know, ever since then, we've just talk to each other.
We just kind of keep talking. It just never really, like, after choosing reads for a week, we were updating each other all the time, obviously, on the reads, and it just kind of kept happening. We just kept updating each other on what we were reading.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a flurry of like messages and then like voice notes and then like messages and then voice notes. And then so I guess we decided let's like talk real time instead of doing voice notes.
Yeah.
And like that's where this podcast, like how this podcast came to be.
So much fun. That's actually a really good question though, because obviously we haven't even met each other in real life. Can you guys believe that? I can't believe that. It feels weird.
I know. We need to.
One day.
Someone needs to fly somewhere. We both need to fly somewhere.
I know.
And like meet in the middle or something.
It's not good that it's like one of the biggest flights you can take in the world.
It sounds so painful.
I'm like literally in the middle of nowhere. But to be honest, it's kind of a long, like if you're going anywhere from Australia, unless you're going to like New Zealand, it's going to be a long flight.
That's true. Yeah, you're kind of isolated on your island.
Very much so. Should we get into the books that we thought were almost perfect? Why don't you start with yours? Because I think you have a few more on your list than me.
I do, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. The first book that I thought was almost perfect was Recursion by Blake Crouch, which is a quite recent read of mine and a foray into sci-fi, which is very rare for me. So I was actually really pleasantly surprised at how much I loved this book. So yeah, this is a sci-fi. It has a lot of stuff to do with like time travel and memory and everything. And it's just one of those books that makes you feel like really stressed out in the entire read, but in the best way. And I enjoyed like all of the book except for this one random romance subplot that happened. And I feel like I've been getting really picky about these lately, where like when there's a tiny little romance subplot, I need those little bits to be very good. Like I need them to act like make sense at least. Like I don't need the focus to be on the romance, but if you're going to throw a romance in a book, like there has to be something to back it up. So I don't know if I just like missed something in this book because there was so much going on and like my brain was breaking. So maybe it's something I didn't pick up, but like I just remember reading it and all of a sudden like reading a sentence and I was like, oh wait, these are love interests? Like when did this romantic connection happen? And I was really thrown off by that. And then after that point, like their connection was like it had a lot to do with the plot, like it had a lot of significance. So it was just kind of strange to me that it came out of nowhere. And that's like my one like nitpicky thing about this book, but otherwise this was like an amazing read. It was so good.
I do think you're right there. I think a romance subplot can either make or break the book. Like it can really alter your opinion on it. And if you're not feeling the chemistry and it does feel out of the blue, it can really influence the way you think about the book.
Yeah, like so many times I'm like, I wish this was just a friendship. Like give me like a friendship or like a brother-sister bond, like kind of a found family type of like a brotherly sister kind of pairing. Like even that would have been better. But yeah, like just a romance that comes out of nowhere is always very jarring for me. Takes me out of it.
I am really intrigued in this one though, and I've been seeing actually a lot of your followers picking it up and being like, oh my god, this is amazing, thanks for convincing me. So now I'm not a sci-fi person either, but I'm really intrigued. I'm super intrigued.
Yeah, pick it up. It's only like 300 pages long, so it's also like not that big of like it's not that intimidating because it's short, but it's just like it packs a punch. Like there's a lot that happens in the 300 pages.
I think going into sci-fi and having like a shorter book that it is a lot that happens and it's not a slow kind of drag or anything like that, I think that's probably a good stepping stone as well. Yeah. He
also, like by he I mean Blake Crouch, also he's very similar to like Brandon Sanderson, I think, where everything is explained in very basic terms. So it's not like you need to be an expert in like sci-fi lingo and stuff to understand the book. Like it's very entry level friendly, I would say. But I think it's also a respected book in the sci-fi genre. So it's not like one of those books where everyone's like, this is only good if you're a beginner into sci-fi. But it's like, it's good for beginners, but it's also good for like people who love sci-fi and read a lot of it.
I'm excited. I do think I need to get into it soon, especially whilst it's still winter. I feel like it's the vibes, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm over here reading it in the summer, but...
well, you're in summer, but...
Every time.
Every time. We won't get used to it for a while, I fear. So the first book I put on this list is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my, and I think yours, favorite authors. Like, absolutely love her writing, love her characters. But Malibu Rising Technically, I think the reason I loved it so much is it's linked to Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And I think reading it, knowing that link and knowing some of the characters that you see adds a lot to the reading experience. And it's a contemporary romance. Oh, actually, historical romance, isn't it? We're set in the 70s, I believe.
Yep.
And what's really interesting is it actually takes place over one night, over one party, essentially. We do have little time jumps back, kind of reminiscing and stuff into the past. But the main action takes place over one night, which I always really like. I think it gives you, a set time zone for things to actually happen. And it kind of adds a little bit of, even though it's technically a romance, it adds a little bit of stakes to it, like kind of high stakes. You're wondering what's happening in this night.
Yeah, there's more like anticipation, like what's going to happen in the next hour. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the reason it wasn't quite perfect to me is I didn't connect to the characters as much as I did in Evelyn Hugo. In Evelyn Hugo, I literally felt so much towards the characters. And yeah, this one, I just didn't quite connect to them as much as I wanted to. I will say it's been a while since I read it. I think I read it when it first came out. So it's been a while, but I remember not quite connecting to it as much as I want. And I also think I had really high expectations going in from Seven Husbands because that book is amazing. So yeah, this one, it was good and I would highly recommend it, especially if you've read other works by Taylor Jenkins Reid. But it didn't quite give me that feeling.
Yeah, I think I felt the same way when I read this one. Is like, yeah, after coming off of like Seven Husbands, I think I read Daisy Jones before this one, maybe. I can't remember, to be honest. But like just reading these like perfect reads, in my opinion, by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and then picking up Malibu Rising. Just this one was like the first one that wasn't perfect. The first one I didn't really connect to all the characters. I think I connected to like the past timeline in this one more than like the current timeline. Because like in the current timeline, we're following like the kids like in the family, essentially. They're grown up kids. But I couldn't connect to them as much. But I also wonder, if I did reread this, if I would like it better, because I think this was more of a character study book rather than a plot-driven book. Like there wasn't actually that much that happened because it happened over the span of a night, like in a party. And I feel like my reading taste has changed since I've read this book. So I do wonder if I would appreciate more of the character stuff in this book more now.
No, I agree. I think I'd have a very different perspective reading it again. Because Taylor Jenkins Reid, she's a master at character development. And something that I did really like about this book is throughout the night, you kind of start to get to know your character's secrets and just a little bit more about them as the night goes on. And then you start to question things about what's going to happen and everything. And I really liked that element. And again, having that connection. It's from memory, Mick Reaver, is that his name?
Oh, good old Mick Reaver. Yep.
Yeah. We don't like Mick Reaver. I don't like Mick Reaver.
For me, he's like a Where's Waldo character. Because like he's in every single, except for Atmosphere, which I was very sad that he didn't. I was waiting for him to pop up in Atmosphere, but he didn't. But in like Seven Husbands, in Malibu Rising, in Carrie Soto, even in Daisy Jones, Mick Riva is like in all of those books. He makes an appearance. That's the best way to describe him. Yeah, and every single time I like see Mick Riva, like I remember being so excited every time I read his name on a page. I'm like, it's Mick Riva. I was very sad he was not in Atmosphere, but
it does that like interconnected series technically by one character is that it's such a good feeling when you see a character you get so excited.
Yeah, it makes you feel more like you're like in this community, like or something. Like just like recognizing people and being like, oh, it's him, and then like wondering if anyone else like picked up on it as well.
It's so much fun. And even in some of her other books, from memory, he sometimes isn't even there. It might be in like a newspaper article about him or something like that.
Yeah.
Like he's
just like a passing.
Mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just there. He's just always
so
there.
Clever.
So yeah, speaking of Brandon Sanderson, a book that I thought was like almost there, not quite, but I really loved it still, was Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. So this is one of his standalone books in his Cosmere. So you can read it by itself, and it follows like two characters that are very different. They have this like weird chance encounter, and then they have to go through things together. That's the worst explanation for this book. But they have to help like solve each other's problems. This book I loved. I think so far it is my favorite Brandon Sanderson book. Which
wow.
I don't know if that's like an opinion that's popular or unpopular, but I thought it was just really whimsical. And I liked the story. It had a lot of like good messaging in it as well. I think Brandon Sanderson is really good at putting in like politics, like real world politics and themes into his books without it being like aggressive sounding or without it feeling like propaganda or something. Like it's just very nuanced. It's there for a reason. What I didn't love about it was actually one moment, like at the end, like near the conclusion, where the narrator of the story just like he became more of a forefront character in the book. Like there was a chapter where he was like, hold on, everything's confusing right now. Let me step in and explain what's happening, and like kind of like broke that like wall, like from like narrator to reader. And I think like that just like really took me out of it. And he was kind of doing that like throughout the entire book. But for me, the fact that he had to be like, let's step back, I'm going to rewind and explain what just happened to you, felt a little bit lazy to me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And like, I know a lot of people like say this is kind of like Brandon Sanderson's thing, especially with the narrator in this book. It's the same narrator in like Tress of the Emerald Sea. It's Hoyd, if you're familiar with the Cosmere. And he's just like a recurring character that appears, and sometimes he narrates the whole book. Another Where's Waldo. Exactly. Yeah. Have you caught him in The Way of Kings yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But I expected him. I've literally been keeping my eye out for him.
You're like looking out.
Like, if somebody's going to jump in straight away, it's going to be you.
Yeah. Yeah, so he kind of appears, but I think it's, I guess in the standalone books that he like becomes more of like the narrator, like takes more of a spotlight. I just found it weird. Like it's kind of his signature that he does that, but it took me out like emotionally of the story. So
yeah,
I didn't love that. I wish like the events that happened weren't that confusing and like could have explained themselves in the action versus like needing Hoyd to step in and be like, hey guys, let me explain literally the world and what happened. So that was my one little problem with it, but other than that, really loved this book.
Yeah, to be honest, I feel like that's almost from memory when you said like talking about the Mistborn series and stuff. I feel like a common theme for you is you don't like the over-explanation. You kind of want to put it together in your head a little bit rather than, and I feel like with Brandon Sanderson's younger books in particular, he does like to over-explain things a lot. And sometimes that can be really useful. You know, if you're out of the book, I remember reading the second Mistborn's book. I read it months and months after the first one. And I really needed that over-explanation of the magic system again. I really needed all of that. But then I went on to the third book quite quickly. And I did notice it a little bit more. I was like, oh, yeah, we've got a lot of repetition here.
Yeah. I'm like, even reading The Way of Kings right now, I took a picture of a page today because I was so annoyed at it. It was on like page 900 and something, or like 800 and something. And we were into like one of those like combat action scenes. And it was explained again. Like the whole like lashing. Like I was like, but I'm on page 900. Like, I don't need all of this explained to me again. So yeah, I guess it's just my like pet peeve with Brandon Sanderson. Yeah.
That's okay. It's a valid one, I think.
Yeah, it's a recurring thing that keeps coming up for me.
All right, my next book this is kind of harder to explain. It is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. And if you're listening to this and if you know me, you're like, oh my God, what? You love that series. I do. It's the first book for me. The second book is an Infinite Star read. Like I love the second book so much. The first book though, as much as I loved it and I was there for the world and the characters, absolutely obsessed. It felt so YA. It felt really, really YA. And for some reason, I feel like The Ballad of Never After, maybe I was more used to the writing, but it almost stepped it up a little bit. I feel like the stakes got a little bit higher. The characters, like their concerns were a little bit more valid. Things just started, in my mind, were a little bit more concrete. And I was like, yeah, that makes more sense to me. Whereas in the first book, I felt like a lot was very surface level. a lot was very simple, and it's a simple YA series, but we've got a lot of focus on the world and the characters, which I loved. So that was purely, I don't think I've even said what this series is about, sorry. The Once Upon a Broken Heart series. We're following Evangeline, and the love of her life is about to marry someone else. So she makes a deal with Jax, who is the Prince of Hearts, and it's kind of just warned off, you don't make a deal with Jax. And she makes a deal with him to stop the love of her life from marrying somebody else. And in return, she owes him 3 kisses whenever he wants. So I loved the premise. And I think also the TikTok hype did get to me a little bit in this one, where it's such a hyped up series. And I'm part of that, like totally part of that now as a whole. But I do think it's one of those ones that you can't judge from the first book, because personally, I loved it. Like, it was a really high rating. But I was like, this didn't quite give me the feels that I was expecting everyone to say that it gives you, if that makes sense. Looking back on it together, perfect, but alone, not quite perfect in my opinion.
It's so funny because I've heard this a lot, and I know Stephanie Garber's writing in general reads very, very YA. Like that's her thing, especially with these series. But I don't remember feeling this way. And I don't know if it's because, like, I did read it a long time ago, and it was also, like, at that point I had not read a lot of romantasy, let's say. Yeah. So I, like, didn't know what to expect. I had maybe read, like, ACOTAR and Fourth Wing, and I was, like, just diving into this now, and just having something that was a little more simple and, like, more fairy tale and whimsy, like, was just so, like, oh, like, it was like a breath of fresh air to me that I didn't really mind the, like, naiveness of it. But yeah, it's something I'm also curious about. Like, if I reread it, what would I think about it now? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Did you read the Caraval series before you read Once Upon a Broken Heart?
I did, yeah.
So that probably helped, because, I had no idea that they were connected. And so I read the Once Upon a Broken Heart. Actually, I read the first 2 because the third one wasn't out yet. And then I went back and did Caraval and then read the third one. Because I had absolutely no idea that they were connected.
That keeps getting you, like with the Dance of Thieves.
It really does. It really does. That's why whenever I recommend, like, series now, I'm always like, oh, read this one first. The only time it didn't get me is Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows. And I am so glad that was the series it didn't get me on.
And that one got me.
Yeah, I know. But it's hard because you don't know. Mm-hmm. You don't know that they're interconnected series, and it's recommended that you read this one first.
You know what's funny actually with that one? Sidebar. On my little mini vacation that I just went on, there was one evening, like the little town we were staying in, like everything closed after like 6 p.m. because it was just one of those cute small towns. And the only thing that was left open was the library for some odd reason. So we went to the library, and I was like, what should I pick up? Like, we're just gonna like sit here and read for like an hour. I picked up Six of Crows because I was like, you know, if I'm not gonna sit here and read a whole book, I'll just reread something. So I was like, what have I wanted to reread? And it was Six of Crows. Picked it up, started reading it, and I was like, oh my gosh, everything makes so much more sense now. Like, now that I have the world building behind me, like just even the first few chapters of Six of Crows, I was like, this would have been like such a better experience, like if I knew what was actually going on. And like, not to say, like, I did love Six of Crows, but I was like, it's just so much more elevated.
It does make a big difference. Yeah. And you're not as, I feel like in Six of Crows, the magic system isn't really explained that much, but in Shadow and Bone, it's really laid out piece by piece for you. So having all that knowledge, then going into Six of Crows, and you kind of just get to focus on your characters instead of figuring everything out. It's so good.
Yeah, no, it was I was like, miles difference. All right. The next one on my list is The Favorites by Lane Fargo, which I know.
I actually agree with this one.
Yeah, it's been like such a popular read, like earlier this year, I would say. Like everyone was reading this. It was getting all the hype. Well deserved. Such a good book. Like very like interesting, hateable characters that you just can't look away from. If you somehow have not heard of this book, it's kind of like, everyone describes it, including me. We all describe it as like a Daisy Jones meets like a Carrie Soto meets a Magnolia Parks. Yeah. Like toxic characters like Magnolia Parks, the ambition and drive like Carrie Soto, and then kind of the formatting like Daisy Jones, because like some of the book is written in that like interview format. And this book was so like intriguing and like compelling the entire way through. Like I could not look away. I was getting so emotionally invested in it. The one thing that bugged me was like close to the end of the book, it kind of turned into this like thriller. Like,
yeah,
the tone of it really changed and it became this like high action, almost like crime mob like thriller.
Yeah, there was a big shift. I totally agree.
Yeah, and it threw me off. I did still give this book a 5-star, I'm pretty sure. Like it was still such a good read for me, but it was just like not, maybe it was like a 4.9. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I actually had such a hard time rating this book, I remember. I was so conflicted because I was like, this book made me so mad. It made me so angry, but I cannot stop thinking about it. It was a really hard book to rate. It's very conflicting.
It is. It's like I've seen people love this book too, and I've seen people like absolutely hate it, and I definitely understand why people would hate it. Like if you are not one to like be able to read about characters that you don't like do not pick up this book. Like you will hate everyone except for Garrett. Yep. Garrett was the one character.
He was like neutral ground.
Almost perfect, but the weird like tone shift was weird. Let's see our next one.
It's Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. I am a big Olivia Blake fan, usually. I love One for My Enemy. I will say I feel like her writing is quite different in every book that she has put out, that I've read at least. I absolutely love One for My Enemy. Like that is an incredible read for me, and I did not expect to love it. And Masters of Death, I really, really liked, and I genuinely find it very hard to describe why. Not a lot happened. Basically, I would say it's a world of like magical realism, because we're kind of set in the ordinary world and we are following the godson of death as well as a vampire who is a real estate agent and has a ghost problem. So it is like a bizarre kind of situation, and it's so simple and not a lot happens, but I loved it. I loved the kind of, it has this kind of gothic energy to it. It's very lyrical. There's just something about it that really, really intrigued me. And I really connected to a lot of the characters. The one thing that pulled me out of it was the love story. That I just couldn't quite get behind. And as you were talking about earlier, I feel like it would have been so much better if it was more of a friendship base. It just kind of pulled me out and made me kind of go like, I don't know what I think of that. Whereas I was enjoying it so much. I was having such a fun time in this book, and just like the atmosphere was great. But yeah, that pulled me out a little bit and just kind of knocked it down from a super, super high, like a 5-star rating.
Yeah, it's the romance. It's the romance subplot thing. It's hard to do. I guess it's harder to do than like an actual like full frontal romance.
Yeah.
So where am I going with my words right now? Challenge for authors, romance subplots.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And I will say, like in One for My Enemy, in case you guys didn't know, that's a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but with witches. And I feel like romance was obviously, if it's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, it's obviously a very central point. And I feel like she did that really, really well. But yeah, for this one, it was done quite differently. I guess we didn't have that, what is it? Off bounds. I was about to say out of bounds. No, it is not out of bounds. Off limits.
Out of bounds romance. You are out of bounds.
We're both really on it with our words today.
Yeah.
And off limits, obviously it's Romeo and Juliet. And I don't know if that added to a lot of the romance. But yeah. I do highly recommend Masters of Death though.
This is one of Olivia Blake's that I have not picked up yet. So I'm really curious about this one. But it's one of those things, I like either hate her books or I love her books. So it's always like, do I pick another one up from her? But then I'm always tempted to, because I'm like, there's a chance that I will really, really love this.
Yeah.
But there's also a chance that it's just going to really aggravate me.
Look, I would recommend it. I think it is the closest to One for My Enemy that I've read, as in it kind of has a very similar gothic feel, because One for My Enemy, obviously we had those like witches and potions and all that like kind of feel about it. And it is a kind of similar feel because we're following like the godson of death, there's a lot of gothic, darker kind of themes, but just very moody themes, not necessarily like dark, just very moody. So I do think, yeah, those are definitely two of my favorites that I've read by Olivia Blake.
Ooh, yeah, I'm intrigued.
I am intrigued to hear more about this next one for you, because I feel like the podcast have been here since the beginning of this one.
I know, yeah, from the start. I think I mentioned this like in our first episode, or like first or second, or even was it the pilot?
Yeah.
It was the pilot. It may have
been the pilot, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so in our pilot episode, my current read was Shark Heart by Emily Haybeck, and this was like reaching so far out of my usual comfort zone in terms of genres. This is a literary fiction. It basically follows a man as he turns into a shark, very, very literally, and we like see how it affects him and like his psychology and like how his mind is processing it, and then also how it affects his wife and just like the people around him. Such an interesting read. Beautifully written. Like this is one of those books that I cannot stop thinking about. Like I think it'll stick with me forever. It was so good. I honestly want to like go back to it probably in like 5 years. There was a lot in it. Yeah, it was a lot to do with the mind and like how you process what is happening to you, like, and giving into your feral side of like, this is your shark side and this is your human side. And then like following the wife who is like knowing her husband is going to turn into a shark, and she has to just like prepare for him to like get ready to turn into a shark, and then also like say goodbye at the same time while you're watching this happen. It's just, it's a lot. The thing that made this book not 100% perfect for me was that it was another one of those books that was split into 3 different parts. Like we followed like the husband and wife first, and then we like had this kind of break where we followed, whose mother was it? Oh my gosh. I think it was her mother, like the wife, her mom. So we kind of like went back in time, and then we like came back in part 3, and I just found there was a bit of a disconnect between the parts. Like they didn't flow quite well together, so it felt like 3 different stories, or like 2 different stories with like one like interrupting in the middle versus like just a seamless flow between them. That was my one thing that I was like, could have been done better. But other than that, like, this was stunning. It was incredible. Took me by surprise. One of my favorite reads of the year.
Wow. I was going to say, the fact that it wasn't like the shark element that took you out of it is what's impressing me. Like, that's the element that I'm like, wow, okay.
No, somehow I got over that real quick. It was like the first like 10 pages, I was like, what is happening? And then after that, I was like, yeah, you know what? He is turning into a shark. I accept this in my life.
Yeah, that's so cool. I am really intrigued. I mean, it scares me because that, as you said, like not something I would usually pick up ever. But it does intrigue me. The fact that you enjoyed it so much, the fact that it's one of your top reads of the year, that just really intrigues me.
It was so good. It's also like not very hard to read. It's one of those books where like it might be kind of scary like going into, but it's very easy to read. It's also quite a quick read because a lot of the formatting, like some pages are like they have like one word on them or like one paragraph or one sentence. So it's like it's very quick, and I think because of kind of the bizarreness that's happening, it makes you want to keep going to like see what is going to happen, because it's so unlike any other book that you just have to like, it's a page turner somehow.
Amazing. Because would you describe it as, actually what genre would you put this on? Like magical realism, I guess.
Yeah, like a magical realism literary fiction, like very character driven.
Cool. I'm intrigued by this one. I'm just getting more and more intrigued by a lot of the books you're saying here, honestly.
Yeah, I know. I've been stepping out lately and it's been paying off.
My next book is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. And this one kind of surprised me because I did not expect to love Abby Jimenez's books as much as I do. I think I went in with such little expectations, just being like, this is just another romance book. Like, okay. Cool. And I read them in order, which I highly recommend. So like, is it Part of Your World, then Yours Truly, then Just for the Summer. Mm-hmm. And now there's Say You'll Remember Me as well, technically connected to it. Yeah. I loved Yours Truly. Like, Yours Truly was one of the, like, hands down the best romance books I have ever read in my life. I was obsessed with it. And so I think that did up my kind of, expectations going into Just for the Summer. And there isn't one specific thing I can really say, this is what did it for me. But I do think the ending I wasn't obsessed with. And the kind of third act breakup that you get in all romance books, this one I wasn't obsessed with. And I was kind of like, in yours truly, I was like, valid, I get it. But in this one, I was kind of like, yeah, I get it, but are you being a bit dramatic to me? I don't know. I can't exactly say. It was almost like it went on for a little bit too long. Like, I understood the initial conflict, but then I thought it kind of was really fleshed out for quite a long period of time. And I was kind of like just confused towards the end. But I loved the first, I would say like 70% of this book I was obsessed with. Again, didn't describe it, just jumped into saying what I loved about it. But Just for the Summer is a summer romance, I would say. The difference with Abby Jimenez, though, is she always has very deep messages in her romances, and she's always got, it's almost a bit of a character study. And we are following a nurse, I believe, who has been stationed. She's a traveling nurse, and correct me, like, where was she stationed again? I can't quite remember.
Oh gosh, it was like a city.
Yeah, it was in. I know that she was going to go to Hawaii or something, but she went to somewhere else.
They ended up going to Minnesota. I don't remember where she came from, but like all of Abby Jimenez's books are in Minnesota. So that's where she like ended up going.
A traveling nurse, we'll just say. Both of our protagonists, though, they have this curse that they kind of share, where it is when they date someone, after they break up, that person will go on to find the love of their life. And I think it is our male protagonist tweets about it or something one day. And they connect over that, essentially, and kind of think if they date, they might cancel each other out. They might cancel the curses out. So it's a really fun little premise. I really like Abby Jimenez always does it really well. They're always a little bit emotional, so it was almost perfect.
It's funny that you didn't like the third act conflict, because this is actually one that I like could get behind. And I think it's because like it didn't have much to do with like the characters. It was like kind of factors outside of them, which I actually really like in a third act conflict. Like I like when it comes from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I could see like
whether
what
it's,
you're
like,
saying about like like maybe it did drag on for a little bit too long, and it was like just get back together already.
Yeah, I think that was my main thing. It felt a little bit like dragged on, but I feel like I haven't read an Abby Jimenez book where the third act breakup is completely, based on miscommunication or something like that, like on something very, very small rather. It's never really based on something like super, super tiny that
Have you read her older ones?
No, I haven't. I will say that. I have not read her older ones. I've only read her newer ones, like From Part of Your World to Say You'll Remember Me. Okay. Because I've seen very mixed things about her older ones, and that kind of scares me. Because I've seen lots of people who are obsessed with her and then read her older ones and be like, so because like, that makes me go
literally what you just described of like the third act conflict being like a little miscommunication, that describes her older books in a nutshell. Like they always get me
she
so
really
frustrated.
blossomed then.
Her improvement in like her newer books is great. Lovely. Love that for her.
That's crazy. Well, Abby, I'm scared to read your older books now.
Yeah, just beware.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of romance authors, another romance that I thought was almost there, almost perfect, was Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. I've actually talked about this one a lot on this podcast. For some reason, it really resonated with me. It really hit me. Like I think it's because it's really difficult for me to find new romance authors that I love. Like I always I have my go-tos. I have my Emily Henrys, my Abby Jimenez. I have like my Ashley Postons, let's say. But it's hard for me to find romance that I like agree with, like with the writing style that I can get along with. And Cara Bastone did it for me. There's something about her writing that like sits very well in my brain. Like it feels so natural when I read her words. It just like gets like absorbed into my brain with like there's no fuss, like there's no fighting against my brain to like understand it, I guess. So I loved this one. And so this is an accidental pregnancy book, which is also like crazy that I loved this book because that's not a trope that I would normally pick up, but our main character basically gets pregnant from a one-night stand, and then she has to just like kind of, she goes through her entire pregnancy. Like the book is split up into trimesters. It's like first trimester, second, third.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, and then we just go along like with her process as she like goes to like tell the baby daddy that she had the one night stand with, and then she like kind of needs support from her friends, and we have like this lovely romance in it, of course. So I loved this. It took me by surprise. There's literally, I think my reason for not giving this a 5 star is like a little bit petty, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was something like, I honestly can't even remember the specifics of it, but it's one of those things where like the main character, or it was the love interest, I think, that said like the word endgame or like something like that, where it's like, you're not allowed to say that. Like, you're a character in the book. Like, you're not allowed to acknowledge something like that. Like, you're not allowed to use a fiction word. So it was for that reason that I did not give this book a 5 star, and I gave it like a 4.5
really funny,
instead.
actually.
Yeah, I'm like, just take that word out. So close.
I've seen such good things about this book though, and everyone's saying as well that the accidental pregnancy trope is not one that they usually enjoy, but it's just done really, really well in this one. So yeah, I've been seeing so many good things about this one.
Yeah, it's done so well, and the love interest, perfect. Like, perfection.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, like, contemporary male love interests.
Wow.
Like, love him.
Yeah, okay. I think that's going to be a summer read for me. Because,
Do it.
yeah, it looks so cute. The next book I had on my list is actually the Prison Healer series by Lynette Noni.
Ooh.
Now, I would say this doesn't include the third book because I loved the third book. Like, to me, I think I rated it a 5 stars because I just really, really loved it. But I think I feel like you have a pretty similar experience with the first book as well. It's so good, and it has, you know, it really keeps you captured the entire time. It's very addictive. The Prison Healer series is, well, actually, I've always said it was a dystopian series. Would you say it's a dystopian series?
Yeah, I think there are themes of dystopia in there.
And then I got a comment the other day and was like, there's no way that's a dystopian series. And then I started questioning everything. I was like, well, I wouldn't really, it's kind of like a little bit of like fantasy and dystopian kind of mixed together, I would say.
Yeah, like it's not like your typical like dystopian. Like, I wouldn't say that's like the selling point of it, but there's definitely like the themes of it that are present in this world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard one to like classify, but we are following Kiva, who is a healer in the prison, where basically anyone who shows any kind of small rebellion against the leaders of this world, they get put in a prison. So there's a lot of people in here. And one day the rebel queen gets taken into this prison, and she has to treat her because she is about to compete in trials. The rebel queen is. So it's got like so many fun tropes and so many fun aspects about it. And I think, like, I can't even describe why it wasn't quite perfect to me, but it's just like I felt a little bit removed during it. And it did take me a while to get really into it. And I think by the second book, I was a lot more in the series and I was really excited for it. But yeah, I did love all of our characters. And yeah, it's kind of hard to say one specific thing. Maybe it felt a little bit YA, but that is Lynette Noni. All of her books I've read are very, very YA books. Yeah, I just felt a little bit removed. I kind of felt like I was just a reader instead of with these characters.
Yeah, I think for me it was like not understanding the intentions of the characters and like why they did stuff. I think especially with the side characters, like, because sometimes they would like jump in and help or like do something, and I'd be like, but why are you doing that? Like, it just, some of those things felt really random to me. That was like my biggest thing with it.
Yeah, I totally get that. It was, I love it. Like, it's such a good series. I always recommend it. But there's, just kind of that, it didn't give you that feeling. I guess I just didn't get that 5-star feeling from the first two, at least.
Yeah, it's like a book that you really, really like, but it's not like your favorite book of all time. It's like, it's just really enjoyable. Like, if you want something that's fantasy, like, we'll scratch that fantasy itch and like scratch that like nostalgia itch and also be super easy to read. It's such a good one for that, but it's not gonna like blow your mind, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like it's that, and it's also a trilogy. It's a nice little, you can just kind of start to get into. It's a very easy trilogy to read. It gets wrapped up really quickly. Like, it's not too prolonged or anything. So yeah, I always recommend it. Like I actually don't see a lot of hype on it, and I think it does deserve a little bit more hype in the YA fantasy world.
That's true. Yeah. I think I thought it was getting a lot of hype, but I think it was because of you. I think it was because I was just watching all your videos, and I was like, everyone's talking about the prison healer, but it was just you.
It was just Freya.
I just kept watching your videos. Yeah.
And I was just like, I think when you started watching, I was literally like started the series and then read the whole series.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I went along like all of it with you, and I was like, wow, everyone's talking about this.
That's so
goes
funny.
to show like how small my circles are. It's like,
oh yeah, truly. Like I'll think a book is really big, and then I'll say something to someone, they'll be like, I haven't seen that book, and I'll be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like, no, I just live in my little bubble and it's fine.
Yeah, little corner of the internet.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about one last book, and this is one that both of us, I think, thought was like almost there. So this is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. Such a good book. Oh my goodness. Like incredible in so many ways.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is a standalone fantasy, and we follow, what's her name? Siona. She is training to be a high mage, like the first female high mage of this society that she lives in, and I don't even want to say more. Like,
yeah, I
things
feel
just
like
go
going
nuts.
in just... I went in so blind because this was one of the reads Jamie chose for me.
Yes,
but
it is.
I went in so blind, and I absolutely loved it for that reason. It was one of those books that when you finish reading it, you're literally just left staring at the wall being like, what did I just read? It's, cannot recommend enough. I'm curious to see your opinion on how it doesn't quite make that perfect.
Yeah, okay. So loved so much of it. Loved the like story arc. Loved everything that happened. It was like horrific, but in like such a good way where like you get so much out of it. The messaging was really strong in it. My one thing is I wanted like just a little bit more out of the characters, like out of like almost all the characters. Like Siona, I wanted more out of like Tommel. I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, I think.
I wanted a little bit more out of him, and even like Kara, also don't really know how to pronounce her name. I wanted a little more of her. Like there were just like a few of the main characters that I was like, I feel you, I get it, but I want like a little more dimension. That was like my one thing.
It did feel like the characters were almost a secondary part of the story. It was more like the plot and the kind of overall messages behind that plot is what we were focusing on. Like so much so that the characters almost were just there to help the plot go along. Like there to kind of just keep it going. And that was kind of similar to what I was going to say. It felt like the plot overtakes every kind of thought in my mind. When I think of this book, I think of, the crazy politics and everything that goes on in it. And I don't really think of the characters. Like they're kind of there and they were great, but you're right, you didn't get too much of them.
Yeah, they're just kind of like puppets that like move around. Like they are quite like stereotypical, I think. Like they all have their purpose and they're just kind of there. But yeah, it's like, I mean, it is impressive that like she was able to fit in like this really complex magic system, like this really complex like world, like all these politics and all the stuff in the plot that happened into like one 400-page book. Yeah, so impressive.
It feels like it's 1,000 pages, honestly. Like the amount of stuff that happens. And what is amazing as well is it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel like she's just trying to fit as much as possible into a short amount of time. It feels like 400 pages was the exact amount that book should have been. It shouldn't have been, less. It shouldn't have been 1,000 pages. Yeah. Very, like very talented writer.
I guess we could have taken like 50 more pages of like character, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But like, yeah, it's a good thing to want more pages out of a book. I think it's better than the other way around where you're like, why is this book so long? Is it that serious? It's a good problem to have, I think, for an author and for a book to be like, I want more of this.
No, 100%. I think, honestly, it's that's the best way to describe it. It's a good problem that we have with this book. Like that's the reason it's not a 5-star because we wanted, well, actually, no, I think I rated it a 5-star. I just don't think it's a I guess like a 6-star. Like it's not one of the ones that I couldn't fault absolutely anything. But it did really, it's one of the books that kind of changes your brain chemistry. I'm not going to lie. I feel like by the end of that book, you're just like, wow, what did I just read? Yeah, I recommend that book to everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like it leaves you feeling so devastated.
Oh yeah, you feel dead. You're just like, okay, do I just move on now? Do I just keep living?
Yeah, it's like, what, like, do I pick up another book? Like, what do I do? Like, it just leaves you feeling so lost at the end, but in like that really good way, when you want a book to like impact you.
Yeah, cannot recommend enough for all my, especially I would say like high fantasy lovers, because it's a very political piece, I would say.
Okay, so those are all of the books that we thought were almost perfect. We still rated a bunch of these 5 stars, but like they were maybe like that 4.9 kind of
if that could be a rating.
If that exists. So yeah, enjoyed talking about this list of books. If you're watching on YouTube, or I think you can comment on Spotify too. Let us know what books you thought were almost perfect and why you thought they were not perfect. But if you are still here listening to the end, thank you for listening wherever you are in the world or whatever time zone you're in.
Until next time, stay comfy and keep reading.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on socials for more bookish content.
Bye. See you next time.